So, UFC 241 happened and Anthony Pettis fought the returning Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz looked sensational, he looked great. Anthony Pettis, to be honest with you, I'm going to say that this is the best incarnation of Anthony Pettis I've seen in some time after this dip when he lost to Dos Anjos. So, Diaz comes back, he looks phenomenal, you know? He looks absolutely phenomenal. For a guy that hasn't fought since 2016, he's definitely been training. That's the thing about ring rust. If you haven't been training in that time and then you just do a 6-week camp after 2 years, you will look rusty. But it's very obvious to me that Diaz was training some throughout that time. So that was one of the takeaways. But the two things I really want to touch on, of course, is this. Microphone, Joe Rogan comes up to Nate and he asks that famous question, the immortal question that we love to hear. Nate, who do you want to fight next? And Nate Diaz says, I want to fight Jorge Masvidal. And the entire arena lit up. And Twitter blew up. And Google searches now, when you type Nate Diaz, the completion word is Jorge Masvidal. And I'm pretty sure that's happening on YouTube on the search engine, which is a good way to figure out the algorithm, by the way. Now what's everyone talking about when it comes to Nate Diaz and Masvidal? We want to see that fight. When's it going to happen? Is it happening in September, October, November, December, January, Super Bowl weekend? That's what people are talking about. They have created a demand to see a fight that is going to make the UFC big bucks and the two fighters big bucks. And we can talk about breakdowns and Nate's reach and his range and his jab and his boxing versus Masvidal's rhythm. We can talk about all of those things. But the fact is, they made it a reality because Nate had a name and said who he wanted to fight next. And I agree with, it was Michael Bisping a few weeks ago. He must have said, I think he went mad, actually, at all these fighters when he was doing post-fight interviews. Who do you want to fight next? And every fighter comes up with, well, I'll fight whoever they want me to. I'll do, whoever the UFC puts in front of me, I'll fight them. And then when you really get down to like the bare bones of it, they think, well, it's disrespectful to call out a fighter. I don't want to call out a fighter. Oh, it's disrespectful. And you know what I think? I think, that's what I think. It's ridiculous. Now, when Nate called him out, was it disrespectful? No. They both had smiles on their faces. It's competition. It's not disrespectful. It's competition. And look what's happened. Now they've extended their career by another fight where they're going to get paid handsomely for that very reason. And the second thing about it that makes it so interesting in terms of just their skills and the way they fight, and could Nate submit him or could Masvidal take him out with his like rhythm, his rhythm, the way he likes to move around in the way that he did to Cerrone. The other thing that's interesting about that is that you have two organic personalities. They are not trying to be anything else other than themselves. And people have gravitated towards them because they're being as real gets. They're not putting on this contrived act, this forced persona. They're not, when they're talking, it doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel contrived, it doesn't feel like Vince McMahon and his scriptwriters came in and said, well, I'll tell you what, pal, you're going to say this, you're going to say that, and you're going to do this, and then you're going to do that, and then they're coming out like robots, and they're saying, I want to fight Jorge Masvidal because his mother stinks. And people don't buy that. They're being two very real personalities. They said, look, the only other gangster in this sport is him, and everybody else sucks, and I want to fight him. And everyone's going crazy, and that's the fight they want to see. So it's just two things that I take away from that. I think this is going to be a gigantic fight. I absolutely cannot wait to see that one happen. Diaz and Masvidal will be an amazing atmosphere and an amazing amount of electricity, and it will be a very, very, very exciting fight. But that's the point. When you offer and you have a name to fight someone, you make more money, you extend your career. When you're being yourself, people gravitate towards that, and that means more money, and I mean in an MMA sense, more money in the pocket. Simple lesson. We're going to talk about Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier in the next video, but that's just my takeaway from all of this. And if there's a God, Let this fight happen. Please, let this fight happen. And while we're talking about letting fights happen, here's one more thing while I sip my cinnamon. I want to see John Jones and Stipe Miocic, and I'll be very honest with you. I think Jones is very fearful going to heavyweight, and I'll explain why in another video. Guys, I'm out. I'm back, and comment down below. Like, we're rebuilding Atlantis here, as you can see. So comment down below, like, hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you think about this fight. Let me know if you have any thoughts on what I've said, and Imperious Rex.